Good morning, afternoon. It's very alarming for us to be here because 20 years ago when we started, we only bought a house, a bit of land rather, 20 feet from the sea so that we could have a timeshare to escape the telephone from broadcasting. And my partner, Deborah McMillan, the business partner, is the widow of Kenneth McMillan, the ballet choreographer. So she was always on the telephone to La Scala and other people like that to organize productions of her husband's works. Anyway, I'll come to that in a moment, because it's the name of olive oil, isn't it? It's virgin, it's pure, it's refined, gives you the promise of such quality, doesn't it? When you know that taverna you go to and you have some fantastic olive oil, you think, God, that's wonderful. Never tasted anything like that in England. And you come back, or in Ireland, and you come back and you go down to your local deli or the supermarket, God help us, and how disgusting is what you taste. Now, extra virgin. Well, I mean, I know about virgins getting deflowered, but extra virgin, what is that about? Reflowered virgin. When I was a student at the Royal College of Music, way back before the Punic Wars, there was a category of very fast young ladies who were known as professional virgins. So they protested furiously about their attributes. Very doubtful. Now, true, no. The olive tree, which is where it all starts, the sort of tree of life, incredibly sort of resonant thing, the olive tree, the olive groves. When you see an olive grove, when we bought our olive groves, I started to sort of fantasize about nymphs and shepherds and, things in the spring flowers, and you get all romantic and ridiculous. Olive oil is one part of the tree's production. It's a fruit juice. Pick the olive, squeeze it, out comes olive oil. The olive itself is a fantastic food. We picked up a stray dog who had the healthiest coat, the most wonderful teeth and everything, and she'd not been looked after by anybody. And what did she eat? Olives. She was picking up the olives that had fallen on the ground. The wood is incredibly hard, very good for machinery, making weaving, what are they called? Looms, thank you very much. And all sorts of implements. They sell you incredibly expensive spoons for salads in Greece and Italy, all sorts of implements. And for those machines, it's a lubricant. It keeps it going fantastically well. And of course, it's a fuel. We burn in our little house olive wood, and 3 logs of olive wood heat the entire premises within about 10 minutes through a wood-burning stove. And it's also, I mentioned lubricant, it's a carrier for all kinds of infusions, for solvents. You put a sliver of lemon juice, lemon peel into a bottle of olive oil, and within half an hour or so you got lemon-infused olive oil. And there's an archaeological dig in Cyprus. They found a perfume factory, and it's about 2,000, 3,000 years old. And the little dishes that they found, which were containing the olive oil infused with herbs and spices, which the athletes used to sort of bathe themselves with, still have the taste of those infusions in the olive oil. So it is a solvent. It's a huge business, olive oil, throughout history. Massive business. The Romans planted olive trees all around the Mediterranean to go where they were because they wanted olive oil. And there's lots of documents where they say the further north you get, the more disgusting their behavior because they only eat butter. Well, There you go. And there's lots of documents about the grading of olive oil. Virgin, extra virgin, pure. Okay, way back when it was olio claro, fine olive oil, fit for food. Olio grosso, gross, coarse olive oil, fit for factories, and it's also called lampante, fit only for lamps and slaves, the Romans said. The Russian Orthodox Church actually said that you shouldn't use oil from, I think it was Italy, because it spits. It's been mixed with other things. The lamp oil from Italy is not even good for lamps. And there are Roman amphora which say where the oil was produced, when the oil was produced, the weight and the quality at the shipment, and who bought it, who received it in Rome. It's very important. Where it was produced, when it was produced, the weight and the quality. Still a prize today, and we don't have much of it on our olive oil bottles. So, I mean, you know, talking about nymphs and shepherds going through our olive groves, you can read literature. Odysseus, when he was finally washed up on the shore, all salty and scummy from being shipwrecked at sea, he pours olive oil all over himself, and lo, he is transformed into a shining god. Mary Magdalene, she anoints Christ's feet. They think it's olive oil. It was supposed to be very, very precious unguents. Well, the most precious unguent in those days was olive oil. And Muhammad was known to so dose his hair with olive oil that his shawl was constantly dripping with it. Amazing, isn't it? It goes on and on. Athens is from an olive tree that Athena planted and still grows, so they say. And of course, the very, very first, what was the very, very first time you clocked the word olive? Do you remember? In the Bible, that story of Noah's Ark. And the dove is sent out, excuse me, the dove is sent out to find whether there's land and comes back, excuse me, with an olive branch. So it's redolent throughout history. The earliest record of olive oil is dated 2400 BC. It's a 7,000-year-old product, by the way. 2400 BC, that's 4,500 years ago. They found a cuneiform tablet dating 2400 BC, which warns and refers to the teams of inspectors checking growers and millers for fraudulent practices in olive oil. Massive documentation about olive oil, its history, and its bad behavior. Secrets and scandals of olive oil are absolutely gross. Now, how did we start off by this? We had this field by the sea, and it had olive trees on it, and there's another long story about why we got the olive oil and so many trees and so on and so forth. But we started to produce oil from our trees, and we went to the factory. And ladies and gentlemen, if you've ever seen anything filthy in your life as an olive factory, I'd be happy to know about it. We were appalled. Now, we're not talking about factory farming, because there are farms which have acres and acres of trees which are hoovered up by machines, birds' nests, twigs, God knows what else. Not that. We're talking about those little farms that you see in Tuscany and in Italy, and in Greece and in wherever, where the local farmer goes out and picks his olives. And we saw them take them to the mill, put them in the hopper, where they're all sort of gathered together, along with cigarette packets, fag ends, chewing gum, orange peel, God knows what else. And it goes off to a rudimentary little bit of a wash. It's crushed, goes into a malaxa, which is a large sort of coffin thing, and a slow wheel turns round for about 40 minutes, and it's spat out the other end in the centrifuge, and that's your olive oil. So if your olives are not clean and are not perfect, you've got a fairly disgusting thing coming out the end, or you could have, because the olive oil is made at under 32 degrees temperature, probably 28. So all sorts of lovely things might be crawling around in it. So we started research. We went organic. We went fiercely organic. The olive grove is infested with a fly which lays its egg in the olive. And the egg matures into a maggot. And the maggot hatches out and becomes the next generation of fly. And they do it terribly quickly. So by the end of the season, you could have 20 punctures in an olive. By which time the olive has probably given up the ghost and fallen off. But that is the next stage. So they drench it with pesticide. And then, because they want to pick up every last skerrick of olive that has fallen off the tree, they drench the grounds with herbicide, so there is not a skerrick of grass. And then they sweep the olives up into a bag and take them off to the factory. And what the olives look like, if you want to come and see me afterwards, I have a picture of this disgusting olive oil. That becomes pure olive oil. And then the next stage, which is even more disgusting, is all the residue after this process of milling. It looks like a paste. That's sort of chucked out from the oil which goes off to be made. The paste goes to a secondary process where it is refined. So refined olive oil, as in oil refinery petroleum, ladies and gentlemen. The mess, the pasta, the Italians call it, the paste, the pomace, is first of all dried off because it's a bit wet. It's been sitting outside in the rain and the whatever, and been run over by rats and bird shit and all that. It's mixed with hexane. You could call that dry cleaning fluid. To take out the oil, shall I say, from the olive rubbish, which comes out as a crude pomace oil, which looks exactly like sump oil from your car engine, thick, black, and sticky. And it is then desolventized. I have to read this because it's so disgusting. Desolventized, it's bleached, peroxide, deacidified, deodorized, degummed, and about 10 more other processes. It's then stabilized, so it doesn't sort of, because after all that, it doesn't do the oil any good. It comes out as an absolutely colorless liquid, which is then mixed with a little bit of extra virgin olive oil, and it's sold in the supermarket. Bought in Tesco's yesterday. Composed of refined olive oil and virgin olive oils. General purpose oil for everyday cooking. Blah, blah. Suitable for vegetarians' nutrition. Regularly they investigate this garbage, and I have to say that a certain very, very famous chef used to put his name to it. It's light and refined, and fat ladies like me go along and think, oh, it's diet oil, isn't it? It's not. It's exactly the same as anything else. Fat, only it's probably quite contaminated. Regularly they test it and they find toxins, they find mineral oil, and they find it's gone through it has carcinogenic material in it. The people who make it do not need to have a food license. But this product is heavily subsidized by our blessed friends in Brussels, the European Union, and the national governments of Spain and Italy and Greece and Tunisia and wherever else. Anywhere which produces olive oil has to deal with the residue of unlovely olive oil and make something of it. I mean, it'd be perfectly all right to use it as biodiesel. That'd be perfectly fine. But they dump it on us as something that we should be eating. Thank you very much. And the laws governing this disgusting product are written by industrialists who make it. So the olive oil business is run by a mafia. Deborah McMillan said to me, for God's sake, don't mention names because you value your kneecaps. I'd had 2 new knees. They were extremely expensive, but there you go. Now, I'm going to be quite rude also because it's called pomace oil, this. And you can buy it in 5-litre cans for very little money. And guess who uses a massive amount of it? Is chefs. This is the sort of stuff that chefs use because it really keeps the margins down in the restaurants, especially the cheap and nasty restaurants. It is also used when you see the words olive oil, just olive oil, not pure or virgin or extra virgin, but just olive oil. It's that. So if you look at any health food product in the supermarket, it says olive oil. That's what it is. Now we have to fight back. Local hero, global hero. We really, really, really do have to fight back. The Americans, bless the Americans, because California makes fabulous oil, said to their governing, the Senate and whatever, why do you let in this garbage from Europe when we make such good oil? Eventually, the Americans said, okay, test it. University of California, Davis, ran a test in 2011. You can read it on the website. UC Davis, extra virgin, and there's a full report. 180 bottles of olive oil, extra virgin olive oil, were purchased from supermarkets and delis in America and in Australia. So there was a double-blind test of this stuff. 180 extra virgin olive oils. 70% of that olive oil was not extra virgin. And a great deal of it was not only not extra virgin, but contained other oils in it. not necessarily olive oil. Quite a lot of them are diluted, particularly with hazelnut oil. Now, I noticed in Ireland that you have fantastic lists of allergens over absolutely everything. Well, if somebody has a nut allergy and eats extra virgin olive oil, a so-called extra virgin olive oil, as instructed by the food writers, because it's good for you and it's fantastic for your health, and it's got hazelnut oil in it, I gather that that's quite dangerous, really. So it's really a big, big fight. The Italians are fighting back. Currently in Tuscany, 7 of the biggest producers are being investigated by the local magistrate for selling Italian oil, which isn't Italian, for selling extra virgin olive oil, which isn't extra virgin olive oil. 70,000 tons of olives and olive oil have recently been impounded because they have been adulterated with copper sulfate to make them green, so we all think it's nice and fresh. And but the FDA has also now said, right, this is such a disgusting practice. All oils imported into the United States will have to go through chemical testing to check. They've just withdrawn 2 major olive oil producers' production because they're contaminated with pesticides that are banned in the US. So, ladies and gentlemen, when people shout at us about the benefits of extra virgin olive oil and so on, and the health and blah, blah, you have to be really very careful. You know, I can't fight Tesco. How can I fight Tesco? But I can preserve my own palates. I mean, I'm not ashamed of saying I bought that in Tesco, and I bought that in Tesco, and I bought that in Tesco, and Rory and I are going to taste them all in a moment and see how disgusting they are. They might be all right, but they may not be. And I'm sorry if food writers feel I might be getting at you here, but I'm fed up of reading recipes and commentaries every week in the newspapers. People mention all kinds of exotic ingredients, namplar and so on and such forth, and mention olive oil. Excuse me, you're mentioning this stuff. If you're writing a recipe about something really super, the olive oil matches the dish. Elizabeth David in 1954 wrote, there are lots and lots of different olive oils. You match the dish with the olive oil. It's not just olive oil. Tomorrow, if you're staying around, if you've heard enough of this today, but tomorrow in my tasting, I'll show you our 3 olive oils. We have a black top, which is incredibly light and fabulous for food like fish, white fish, and baby salads and things. We have a silver top, which does tomatoes because it's more beefy. And we have an everyday oil. It's not just olive oil. You don't just put parsley with everything. You don't put what's that terribly strong herb, spiky like lavender? What? Rosemary, yes. You don't cook rosemary with, I don't know, maybe you do, but you vary what you're cooking. So olive oil every week makes me absolutely jump up and down with rage. I should just say one thing. How do you know what's what? You read the label. Extra virgin olive oil, it has to say 100% extra virgin olive oil. Might have a bit of hazelnut in there, might have a bit of pomace oil in there. Superior category olive oil obtained directly from olives and solely by mechanical means. That's it. You pick the olive from the tree, you squeeze it. The olive has to be of the top quality. It mustn't have a blemish. It's got to be well looked after. The trees should not be thrashed to within an inch of their lives. It's got to be loved and respected. The acidity has to be, for extra virgin olive oil, between 0% and 0.8. And that's the problem, because you can lower the acidity by mixing it. But above all, and this, ladies and gentlemen, is the test. What does it taste like? And what does it smell like? The testing for extra virgin olive oil has an organoleptic test as well. What does it taste like, and what does it smell like? And if the shop that you're going to buy it from won't let you taste or smell it, don't buy it. Simple. They won't. They do wine tasting, don't they? They open a bottle of wine and give you say, try this. So they should open. If they believe in the oil they're selling, they should open the bottle for you. In fact, we send out tasters with little 100 ml bottles because the shopkeepers faint in coils at the idea of opening a pricey bottle of olive oil. But you cannot buy something and cook with something that you don't know what it's going to taste like. You wouldn't cook with rancid butter, you wouldn't cook with sour milk, you wouldn't cook with a pork chop that's walking out the door because it's so elderly. You wouldn't cook a vegetable which was growing whiskers. Why cook with an olive oil which is rancid? What can I say? Best of all, there are all sorts of olive oils. I won't say ours are the best, of course they are, but there are all sorts of different tastes of heavy, light, from all over. 700 varieties of olive. There's got to be one in there, or about 15 in there, which will go with your recipes. Best of all, if you buy organic, you might get quality, but that's also doubtful. But best of all, buy it from a farmer or a shopkeeper who you know. You know? Avoid general purpose mega labels. There's more oil produced by this particular company than could possibly grow in Italy, Spain, Greece, Tunisia, Morocco, all put together. Ladies and gentlemen, outside there's flyers for 2 books which are essential reading. Extra Virginity by Tom Muller, who is the hero. He is the food hero. He's done the legwork. He's sussed them all out, the crooks and the goodies. That's fabulous. It's on discount, 40% discount. Outside, there's a little flyers that you can take. And this lovely lady has written her own book about how to taste olive oil. And there's a flyer for her outside as well. Thank you for your time. I've rabbited on.
Don't go away. Thank you, Natalie. I first heard Natalie speak in Abergavenny at the food festival, and you were ranting about olive oil, and I was ranting about French beans that had been flown from another part of the world.
Oh, yes, that's right, yes.
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 And thank you. It's so wonderful
well,
of you.
It's wonderful to be here. I mean, for goodness sake.
And really, I have very little to say about a salad, but actually, in terms of olive oil, and as you know, butter is central to everything we do here at Ballymaloe and in Cork and in Ireland. And our cow is your Grecian olive in a sort of a way. It gives us many similar sort of things, and we all know. My introduction to olive oil was, of course, with my first earache.
Exactly.
That's where a finger went in my ear with the olive oil from the dispensary.
And you could buy it in a bottle that size.
Anyway,
and it was this.
Exactly,
it was this,
yes.
It was this.
So we've come a long way since then. But and in terms of a salad, really, I don't probably need to show you how to make a salad, because obviously you start off with wonderful salad leaves and incredible wild things growing. There's so many things you could make a salad out of the wild things that are growing in the hedgerows at the moment. But then in terms of olive oil and a salad, that's when you want the very best extra virgin olive oil, and I think just a little bit of lemon.
Exactly.
Lemon.
Exactly.
So actually, in one hand, if I was on my way to my desert island in terms of the ingredients, I would have a pound of butter under one arm, and I would have a bottle of extra virgin olive oil under the other. And then I'd have some sea salt in my back pocket, and I'd have a lemon in another pocket, and then I'd be nearly right.
Pepper grinder.
You know what I mean? Pepper grinder,
pepper
maybe.
grinder.
Well,
pepper
peppercorns would do, because I could grind them.
You could
I could grind the pepper on the rocks, on the rocks. But whereas I don't need to really have to tell you, let's see what she says about the olive oil I brought in.
Shall I open it?
Yes, please do open it. This is from Fontodi. It's one of the little single, very fine estates in Tuscany. And like any ingredient as well, from the point of view of a cook, it's crucially important to me and to most cooks. And we know how to use it now, because honestly, when I started cooking, I didn't really know how to use olive oil because it hadn't been in my background. I knew how to use butter, and I know now how to use olive oil. How do you find that?
Well, it smells very nice.
Good taste? Yeah, it's good stuff. Yeah. Anyway.
So you kind of roll it around your mouth. Coat it around the mouth. It's quite fruity. Roll it around your mouth, and then you get the air in. Got a kick.
Anyway, salad is as simple as a really gorgeous olive oil. And the problem is, it's about reading the labels, but an olive oil label tells you just about as much as most wine labels tell you, which is actually very little, unless you're in the know. So that's it, really, isn't it? So you've got to just do a bit of research and find the brands that you like. So olive oil, lemon, salt and pepper for a plate of health foods. If it's a good lemon, if it's extra virgin olive oil, if they're good salad leaves, that is a plate of health food. Do you know what I mean? And of course, apart from health, which is of course crucial, a thing of pleasure.
I love that. I love the what you call condomed hands. You know,
I
all those
never
people
wear
who have
condoms
to
on
wear
my hands.
condoms on your hands. You know, that's why extrovert. Sorry.
It's nearly time for her to stop. Just one subtle point, you may have noticed I took some of the leaves out of the bowl. Because if you try to dress too many leaves at once, you can't. Because a salad, I mean, you know, somebody put these seeds into the ground. This is organic food, you know, so they bought organic seeds to start off with. And they farm their soil to an organic standards. That's a big decision. And then, so you've got to celebrate it and love it. And I know it's only a salad at the end of the day, but only a salad. I can't even put those words together. So,
but you know, Rory, if you go to places and they throw the salad together, you know, you've got terrible iceberg lettuce or whatever, and something as a totally tasteless tomato. And they put a tomato with a green leaf, which is a sort of shock.
Yeah. So caress the leaves with your condomless hands.
Condomless hands.
Never feels the same.
Anyway,
enough. Okay. Thank you, Natalie. Thank you very much, everybody.
Have a smell of this one.
Natalie, okay, Rory,
yes, I should taste Natalie's.
Can we allow people to try this?
Yes,
of course, absolutely, yeah.
Send the bowl around
Well,
and
let's
use
send the bowl around. Oh, I better taste it and make sure it's right.
Maybe we can pass the bowl around, can we?
It's delicious.
And Natalie, your olive oil, can people have a chance to taste it?
Yes, tomorrow. Tomorrow I'm doing a tasting.
Lovely.
So we've got a range of olive oils, horrible and lovely, and you can taste it.
Wonderful. Okay.
And there's it's on sale in the shop as well.
Thank you.
But
Thank you.
Can we dress a bit of that with this?
Yes, I'll
With the
send
proper
this around
stuff.
as well.
The only use I have, which I highly recommend if you have children, is to rub olive oil in your baby's head.
And
endlessly.
and look, it's terribly healthy. There's not time to talk about all the whole thing, but it's one of the most healthy foods if it's fresh. And Greek babies get a teaspoon a day from birth. And it's full of things for your hair, your skin, your bones, your circulation, etc. They research it. The Americans research it all the time. It stops skin things developing into cancer.
And like most other ingredients, it's also worth remembering that an olive grows at a certain time of the year, is harvested, and you're trying to finish the last of that olive oil before the next year's harvest starts.
Except, I mean, if
so it's, 1 year.
It does.
But you can, of course, keep it.
Yeah, it lasts for a very long time, actually. The nutrients may not, but the actual taste of the olive oil, if it's kept properly, will last for a very long time. I'm selling online stuff which has gone beyond its best before end, according to Brussels last year. And it's fine. People love it and buy quantities of it. This year, about 3 weeks ago, Brussels decided that there should be no best before end anymore because olive oil has a long shelf life. But they've never said you have to state when it was picked. They've never said that because the big boys, who are unmentionable, although their bottles are on the table, like to use all the junk oil that they've collected from everywhere. Anywhere.
Natalie, we adore the dulcet sounds of your revered voice.
We
should have another revered Irish voice who needs to.
Natalie, thank you so much. And of course, you will be talking as well tomorrow. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.